Hi everyone, it's Sarah Todd. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you all through exactly all the accessibility barriers that I encounter when I'm at the airport by myself. I love to travel and I do travel alone quite a bit. So I'm often in airports by myself, navigating that whole situation by myself. And as someone with my disability, which impacts my ability to move my arms and hands, I can't move my left hand at all. I have very limited movement in my right hand. I can't lift my arms up higher than this. It can be a challenge. So I want to bring more awareness to this, talk about all of the challenges that I face, and perhaps in my lifetime, things will change and get better. I hope so. But yeah, let's get right on into it. So for me, preparing to fly alone starts days ahead of my flight with TSA Cares. TSA Cares is essentially the Transportation Security Administration's, or TSA's, Disability Assistance Program. So you can go online to the TSA website and you can request TSA Cares assistance. And you do that by filling out this form. It asks you the details of your flight, and then if you have a return flight, you put that in as well if you're doing a round trip. It asks you your name, your contact info, what assistance you need, and there's this nice big text box with plenty of space to explain what assistance you might need. You submit that form, and then in my experience, I always get a confirmation that they've received my request, and then I get another confirmation, usually like within the next few hours, saying that they have forwarded my info to my departure airports. And then from there, I should hear from the airports that I'm flying in and out of with steps to take to get the assistance that I need. So when TSA Cares works, it is very helpful. I've had some amazing experiences with TSA Cares. I've also had some not so great experiences where they just literally don't even reach out to me at all, and then when I get to the airport and ask for help, everybody's clueless and they don't know how to help me or who to ask to help me. But when it's good, it's amazing. I had it be very good when I was in Boston. They emailed me the day before my flight and gave me a phone number to call when I was ready to go through the security checkpoint. So I got there, I called the number, and they said somebody would come out to meet me. Somebody did in fact come out to meet me and walked me through the line and helped me with my backpack, all the things that I needed. So when it works well, it is amazing. And I've had some other amazing experiences with it, specifically in Chicago. Their assistance has been really great in my experience. They do the same thing where I call a number, they come out and get me and walk me through the checkpoint. And they've even been so kind as to ask me if I need help getting to my gate, or if I want to go get food or a snack, and I always decline. I'm like, no, I'm good. But it's so sweet that they offer that. So anyway, definitely very hit or miss, but I think it's always worth filling out the form and just seeing if I'm gonna have a good experience, because if I don't fill out the form, I'm guaranteed to not get the assistance that I need. Every time I go through security by myself, I like to sit down somewhere after security and record a video talking about my experience, just because it is so hit or miss and very inconsistent. I have had issues with TSA Cares not being great for years, so this is not a new thing. It is definitely an ongoing issue. So let's watch one of those videos. This is one of my most recent recaps. Disability assistance in the airport in the United States sucks so often in my experience. I filled out the TSA Cares form weeks before my flight and nobody got in contact with me ahead of time like they're supposed to. So I went through security by myself as a disabled person today. I know that I can get wheelchair assistance, but I don't need a wheelchair, and I only need assistance in security. So it seems silly to take up a wheelchair I don't need and to take up somebody's time throughout the whole airport when I only need their help through security. So I went through by myself. I was thankfully able to do the ID part with no problem because I have touchless, so that was really easy. What's difficult is getting my bags on and off the conveyor belt. It thankfully was able to do it all by myself, but getting the bin onto the conveyor belt to then put my bags in was very difficult. I was visibly struggling to the point where it was embarrassing, but I thankfully got it done. Then I walked through the other side, waited for my bags, and thankfully was able to get my bags out of the bin. I couldn't move the bin over and stack it on top of the others though, which I felt kind of bad about. I had to leave it there. So I was able to do it, but then now I'm struggling to get my backpack back on, which normally the TSA officer who's helping me would help me do. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. But yeah, I just wish that help was guaranteed if you fill out the form, because I did my part by filling out the form. So it needs to be more consistent so that it's not always anxiety inducing for disabled people like me going through security at the airport. So yeah, I feel like that video was a very good summary of my typical TSA Cares experience. a lot of the time they don't get in contact with me, and then I'm forced to go through by myself or request wheelchair assistance, which I do not need. And so the point is, while I am able to sometimes go through the checkpoint by myself without help, it's very anxiety inducing, wondering, am I gonna be able to lift the bin up and then get my items in the bin and then get them out of the bin? And then what am I gonna do with my backpack? Like, a lot of the time I really struggle to get my backpack back on by myself. So just be nice, like I said in the video, to have guaranteed assistance if you request that assistance. But yeah, now that we've covered TSA Cares, let's backtrack a little bit to before I even make it to the airport. When I'm packing for a trip, I have to be very intentional about how I pack to make sure that the way I pack is accessible to me. The first thing I always have to decide is if I'm checking my bag or if I am carrying my bag on, because that determines what type of suitcase I'm going to take. I have one that is really easy for me to roll, and it's also super pretty, so I never want to check it. So if I'm carrying on, I will use that suitcase. If I'm checking a bag, I'll use one that is not as nice and has a lock on it so that I'm fine with checking it. If I'm flying alone, I usually do check a bag because that way I don't have to worry about lugging it throughout the airport, lugging it through security, figuring out how I'm going to get it in the overhead bin and out of the overhead bin and all of those things. And thankfully, I do get my checked bag free with my Delta status. So if I'm flying Delta, I can get the bag checked for free. So that makes me even more likely to just check my bag since it's free. Until very recently, I used to have somebody walk into the airport with me and help me check my bag, just because I was nervous about doing the whole process of printing the tag, getting it onto the scale and handling all of that. But recently I've gotten more comfortable doing that by myself. So now I usually just have somebody drop me off at the airport. I can go in and I'm able to lug the bag around long enough just to get it to the bag check line. And I don't print my own tag. I usually just go up to the agent assist and ask them to help me with printing the tag. And they always help me lift my bag onto the scale. So it's actually really easy for me to just do that. The few times that I have flown alone with a carry-on, I do get help walking it down the jetway. One time I had a really great experience doing this. I asked the wheelchair assistance employees when I got to the airport if I could just have help, getting through security, getting to my gate and walking my bag on the plane, but without having to use the wheelchair because I don't need it most of the time. And they were really receptive to that. They didn't make me use the wheelchair, which I was so happy about, because sometimes when I've asked the wheelchair assistance employees for help, they make me use the wheelchair. And I don't know if that's maybe typically a policy thing, like if they're supposed to do that, but I don't love taking up a mobility aid that I don't need because that feels wrong. And also just like wasteful because somebody else could be using it while I am. So I love if the wheelchair assistance employees are able to just help me with my bag through the airport. And then what they did when I needed help getting my bag just down the jetway and onto the plane was they paged a different employee, and he was wearing a neon vest. And I believe that he's one of the employees, I don't know exactly what their title is called, but one of the employees who usually loads the bags onto the airplanes, like down on the tarmac. But he actually met me at the gate and walked my bag down the jetway for me and got it up in the overhead bin for me. And that was amazing. Like, that was so helpful. He was so sweet. So that's like such an ideal situation to have happen for receiving help, in my opinion. But I have learned that I do not prefer carrying on, just because I think it's easier to check my bag, not have to deal with it. I can walk through the airport way more easily without having a suitcase with me. So typically when I fly alone, I'm just checking my bag now. Another thing that I have to decide when I'm packing, before I even make it to the airport, is if I'm bringing my laptop with me on the trip, because that determines what kind of backpack I'll take, because I always put my laptop in a backpack. So I have a bigger backpack that I'll take if I'm bringing my laptop. If I'm not bringing my laptop, I will use a smaller backpack. So if I absolutely need to bring my laptop, like especially if it's a work trip, then I will, but I always prefer not to. I do miss my laptop sometimes if I'm on a trip, especially because it's harder for me to get work done without it, but it's so much easier for me to not have it in the airport because it's really heavy wearing it on my shoulders. And because I have partial paralysis in my shoulders, I can't carry very heavy things very easily. So it really hurts my shoulders to have it on my back, and it makes it so difficult in the bathroom. I have tried to go to the bathroom with both the little backpack and the big backpack on, and it is like impossible, because then it's hard for me to pull my skirt or whatever I'm wearing up. So I really try to only have a little backpack without a laptop if possible, but sometimes it's unavoidable. But once I check my bag at the airport and make it through security, my airport experience is pretty smooth. The most difficult thing that I deal with is the bathroom, like I was just talking about. So it depends on, you know, the bathroom setup, like if the stall locks are easy for me to do, if the doors are easy for me to do, if the sinks are easy for me to do. Usually in airports, I find them pretty accessible for me, but sometimes, you know, it could be more accessible. But yeah, making sure that I can lock the bathroom door is often a problem. I do love when I can find a bathroom that has hooks that are low enough for me to reach. I usually have to go to the accessible stall in order to get those hooks because most stalls, the hooks are very high up and I can't reach them. But I need those low hooks when I'm in an airport bathroom and I have my backpack with me, which is every time. I always travel with a backpack because in order to get that backpack back on, I found the best way for me to do that is to take it off and put it on one of those low hooks with the straps facing towards me. And I'll insert a photo of this here so that y'all can kind of get a visual of this. And then what I do is while the backpack is on the hook, I will turn my back towards it and put my arms through the straps and then kind of pull forward, and it helps me get my backpack back on. So if I don't have that low hook, like, you know, in most stalls where the hooks are very high, I can't get my backpack back on. So if I can't do that, I have sometimes had to ask the bathroom attendant to help me. I had such a positive experience doing this once. I went up to the attendant and said, this might be a weird question, but I have a disability and I can't get my backpack back on. Would you be able to help me? And she was like, never explain yourself, never explain yourself. And she kept saying that over and over. And she was like, of course I'll help you. And she was so happy to help me. And she told me if I needed anything else, I could ask her. And if I was walking around near this bathroom, you know, in the terminal, she said that one of her friends would be around, and she described what she looked like to me and said that I could always go ask her friend. She was like, she's like me, she'll totally help you. So that was so sweet. So if there isn't a low hook option, then I can just ask an attendant or a stranger if I absolutely had to. Okay, now we're on to boarding. I always have my boarding pass on my phone, as most people do. I really don't want to have extra paper or something extra to carry, so I have it on my phone. And scanning my boarding pass is pretty easy for me. The hardest part is sometimes like lifting my phone back up. I don't know why, but like my limited hand dexterity makes that a little bit difficult for me. But yeah, I'm able to do that, and then I'm able to easily walk down the jetway, especially when I don't have a suitcase with me. And then right when I board, I talk to the flight attendants and explain my access needs to them. I've shared 2 videos showing how I do this, so I will insert them here and let's watch them real quick.
Hello. Excuse me, can I chat with you before I go to my seat? My name's Sarah Todd. I have a physical disability, so I might need help like doing my seatbelt up, and then if I need to use the restroom, I can't lock the door. Would someone be able to watch it for me? Okay. All right, thank you. I'm in 20C. 20C? Yes. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so that was one video, and now let's watch the more recent video I posted.
Hi. I'm good. My name's Sarah Todd. I have a disability.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll likely need help buckling and unbuckling my seatbelt.
What is your seat number, sweetheart?
It's 17D, I think.
17D. I'll have one of my colleagues come, or I'll do it myself.
Thank you. If I need to use the bathroom, I'll need someone to watch the door too, because I can't lock it.
Got it.
So would I come up here or go to the middle or the back?
No. Come up here.
Okay.
Come up here.
All right.
Do you want my water or anything like that?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
All right, sweetheart.
Okay.
Whatever you need.
Okay, so that was the more recent video, but as you can probably tell, very similar experiences. I have said basically the same type of thing, and what I always like to tell people is I simplify this into 3 steps. I introduce myself, I state my needs, and I offer gratitude. That's it. That's how I'm able to do it super quickly. I have never had a bad experience doing this. All the flight attendants have always been so lovely, very kind and accommodating. I've just had some be more attentive than others, but I've never had anybody be mean, be rude, be dismissive, any of that. They've always been amazing. And I love that doing this kind of allows me to get a chance to meet them and have a conversation with them and have just a very nice, positive interaction with them. And I love when I get to also give positive feedback for them, because I really hope that that helps them, and they deserve it. So they're always super kind. So yeah, the actual flight experience is usually pretty good. Like, I just need help buckling and unbuckling my seatbelt a lot of the time, and if I need to use the bathroom, I just get the flight attendant to watch the door. So yeah, it's pretty good. Not really a big deal. When the flight lands, I get off the plane, and then since I usually check a bag, I head right to baggage claim. And this part always stresses me out. Having to get my bag off the baggage claim stresses me out because there's not really like a designated individual for me to ask for help. There are sometimes employees around the baggage claim area, and I thought that I could ask them for help, but upon doing so and being told that they're not always allowed to help, that's made me realize that there is maybe a liability issue with this. So what I usually do is I ask strangers for help, which I don't love doing because it is very awkward sometimes and a little bit uncomfy. But I always tell myself, I'm like, I'm a 5-foot young woman. I think most people would look at me and just think like, oh, like she's small and young and like can't get her bag. Like they might not know I have a disability and they probably think nothing of it. But I've always had very kind strangers help me. They've always been so sweet. And when the employees tell me that they can't help me, they're never rude about it at all. They just explain like, I'm sorry, but I can't. So I've never had anybody be mean about this ever. I have had some employees help me though, so it's been a little bit confusing, the inconsistency of that. I don't know how these airport and airline policies work exactly, but yeah, I'm assuming it's a liability issue. So I think going forward, I'm just always gonna ask strangers because I don't wanna put an employee in an awkward position. I do think it would be fabulous though if there were a designated person to help with bags. I don't know if that's possible, but I do know there are some employees who unclog, so to say, the baggage claim belts when they get really full of bags. So I don't know if maybe this could be part of their job. Like that would be great if that became a thing, just because, like I said, it can be nerve-wracking to ask strangers. But yeah, that part always stresses me out and is very anxiety inducing for those reasons. But once I have my bag, I'm good to go. I just go meet whoever's picking me up. If I'm doing an Uber or a Lyft, I try to request a woman driver. I've just started doing Uber and Lyft by myself recently. I had set a boundary for myself for the longest time that I was not going to do it by myself because of my safety, because I can't buckle my own seatbelt in a car. So I would need to ask them to help me do that. And that just immediately lets the driver know that I am extremely vulnerable. But I had to Uber or Lyft by myself recently. I had no other choice. So I did it and I had a really good experience. So I think going forward, I'll feel more empowered to do this by myself. So I try to request a woman driver if I can. And then I just ask them if they can help me buckle my seatbelt. I just say I have a physical disability and need help buckling my seatbelt. Do you mind helping? And when I did this previously, it was not awkward at all. I feel like maybe I don't need to tell them I have a disability because that, like I said, makes it known that I'm very vulnerable. But I feel like if I ask them to buckle my seatbelt and don't say that, they might be super confused, or I don't know. Maybe I don't need to say that, but anyway, that's what I've been doing for Uber and Lyft lately, and it's been okay. So yeah, that's my full journey from before I even make it to the airport to leaving the airport once I get to my destination. I think overall airport accessibility could be greatly improved. I think it's kind of a bummer that the only like majorly guaranteed assistance is wheelchair assistance. I will use it if I'm having like an off day or if I feel like I absolutely have to, but like I said, I don't like using a wheelchair that I don't really need and taking up somebody's time that I don't really need. That just doesn't feel great to me. I wish that different types of accessibility assistance were easier to request and that they are more reliable and consistent, because as y'all have probably gathered from watching this video, there is a very big reliability issue and a very big consistency issue. I love traveling though, so I do it a lot, both for fun and for work. So inaccessibility doesn't stop me from doing it, but it definitely makes the experience much more stressful and anxiety inducing than I think it needs to be. I hope you all enjoyed this video, maybe learned something new. I really appreciate you all watching. Like I said, hopefully in my lifetime, we'll see airport accessibility improve. I honestly would love to be part of helping to make some improvements. I would just need to get in touch with the right people, I guess, but maybe that'll happen. I don't know. But anyway, hope you all have a fabulous day. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I post new long form videos every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Pacific time, and I hope to see you all at the next video. Bye everyone.